Pam Bondi is now, ladies and gentlemen, your Attorney General. And she certainly has no use for one Letitia James. Never has. We'll get to that. But she came out with new orders today. She's pausing all federal funding for sanctuary cities. You want to be a sanctuary city in New York City? Guess what? You're not getting any money. You're not getting any taxpayer federally funded money because you're not following the law. And I guarantee you, Pam Bondi is on the right side of the law on this one. Just go to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. What does the federal government have the ability to do to establish a uniform rule of naturalization? If anything, if there's one power that the federal government has, it is to control its borders. Okay, so Leticia, you can get up there and say all this. Oh, you were preparing all the time. You knew this was going to happen. You bet you knew it was going to happen. That's why you're so scared. You're going to lose your money again. You see what it always comes back to.
With other Democratic AGs across this country to make sure that we would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights. So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution. We will continue to protect and our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast, knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law, and we are prepared, my friends, to fight back. Thank you.
Well, guess what, Leticia? You can't actually fight this one because the federal government doesn't have to give you money if you're not actually following the law. In fact, I think that Pam Bondi ought to be able to put you in the slammer because you're really not following the federal law. You're actually in complete defiance of it. So sure, she's taking away your money because you're out there saying, I'm going to do what I just damn please. New York law has laws that protect immigrants with limited cooperation and limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement efforts. Those laws should be followed by law enforcement and officials in our state. I'll always uphold our laws and protect immigrant New Yorkers. She's making it very clear. Oh, she's been preparing for this day. Well, you know who else has been preparing for this day? Pam Bondi. And you know what else? Pam doesn't have a lot of love for Leticia, shall we say. She knows darn well that Leticia, 1, is really bad at her job. 2, deliberately went after Donald Trump with the intention of bankrupting him. And 3, doesn't care 2 bits about her city. There she is standing up there. I, Letitia James, I will protect everyone. I will stand in the way of Donald Trump. Here's Pam.
I think in New York, to specifically talk about New York and to talk about Attorney General Letitia James, instead of sitting in a courtroom going after Donald Trump on bogus civil fraud cases, she should be out on the streets of New York with all of law enforcement. She's the chief law enforcement officer in New York. She should be out there condemning this, stopping this, calling for the arrest of these people who are vandalizing police cars. There are cameras all over New York City. They can catch these people. Look what Mayor Giuliani did to clean up New York, Manhattan, when he was mayor. She could be out there in the entire state and at all these college campuses saying, if you don't stop this, we will arrest you and we will charge you. That's exactly where I would be. And that's where she should be. And it makes me so mad because all of these Jewish students are at peril right now. Just what you said. And, you know, I don't know if these students who are praising Gaza if it's just ignorance on their part,
right?
What they're doing if they don't understand. But if you have the chief law enforcement officer, meaning Tish James, out there condemning it, saying this has got to stop, we've got to protect our Jewish students as well as the Muslim students, say that, then it would stop. But nothing is happening to stop this. And people are, people get
because Letitia James actually has no respect for the law, or maybe there's something else going on, which is actually really darn scary. I mean, if I have to listen to the anti-Semitism that comes out of the squad one more bit, I mean, it just makes you want to throw up, right? So is that part of her thing too? I don't know. But the point is, Pam Bondi is not going to stand for it, you see? Pam Bondi is going in saying, hey, we have law and order. And if you don't want to abide by our rules, if you're actually going to try and help people criminals evade justice, then we have a problem. And we're going to shut off the spigot. You're not going to get any more money because you see, again, at the end of the day, it's all about money. And she has the power to do this through the Constitution, through not just Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, but also the Commerce Clause. So it's tough going for you, Tish James. I promise you, it's going to get really, really, really ugly. Oh, and you know who else it's going to get ugly for? AOC and Ilhan Omar. I'll tell you who it's not getting ugly for, the stock market. Stock market doing great so far under Donald Trump. Take a look. This is my company that I started with my dear friend Rob. I want to get my logo out of the way so you can actually see how great some of these stocks, our holdings are. We have 3 portfolios there at 76 Research. Go check them out if you can. American Resilience, it's a growth portfolio. Inflation Protection, because you got to worry about that, of course. Income Builder, because at some point you want to retire and you want to be able to live off your investments. So go check that out, 76research.com, or go to 76 Research Portfolios. Go look at those portfolios today. So Pam Bondi is not just after Tish James. I have a feeling she's going to go after Ilhan Omar and she's going to go after AOC. And she's going to be able to go after these ladies because they too are standing in the way of justice. In fact, AOC is out giving a seminar on live Instagram or TikTok or whatever she uses, telling everybody how they evade.
Because what you can do is protect people. The slower they operate, the less they can break. You hear me? This is why this is strategically important. The slower they operate, the less they can break. And so know your rights. If ICE comes to your workplace, if ICE comes to your door, you do not have to open the door. You ask them.
Law and not to be outdone. You know, if AOC actually spoke Spanish, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, if she actually spoke Spanish, she might have actually been able to do more of a service to people. Anyway, Ilhan Omar is going into the full language thing on her version, and she's saying the exact same stuff. Okay, so here you see, how do you advise people? Like, what should they be doing if they're here illegally? And then she goes on about how you basically need to evade and avoid ICE. If ICE attempts to question you, she says, well, then what do? You slow them down, because this is the answer. You're not obligated to answer their questions. It's the same exact BS that we heard from AOC. And so again, they're trying to stand in the way. That's their thinking here. If they just oppose, somehow that's actually going to do the trick. And I'll tell you this, it won't, because you can't have a system where the states think they are their own countries. Hey, New York, if you want to defect, if you want to become New York all on its own, Donald Trump will tariff you to death. Okay, good luck with that one. Hey, maybe you can join Canada and you can all pay 25%. There's a moratorium. I'm getting too excited, you can see. Clearly, I like the idea that New York just leaving altogether. Can we just get rid of them? They can join Canada and we'll tariff them. That'd be great, right? There's a lot of business there. We'll get something out of it for a little while until everybody leaves. Pam Bondi isn't messing around. Not on immigration and not on this new trans sports issue, because you see Donald Trump just signed an executive order today. He was surrounded by young women. Let me see if I have the video of this, because it was really actually very touching. And as a mom of girls, I was really struck by this. All these little girls around him.
Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is, this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have it.
It is a big one. It's a big deal. It's a big deal for all those young women who deserve an equal shot at scholarships, at trophies, awards, and shouldn't have to worry that their record is going to be broken by someone who was born a man and therefore, biologically speaking, and I can't believe I have to go here, but had years in which, while being a boy, had more testosterone, and that leads to more muscle growth, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, like, we don't have to go through the numbers, but you've seen some of the stuff. I mean, it's wild, right? When you look at how some of these transgender runners have been able to beat women's records in sports, it's astonishing. And Donald Trump's like, yeah, no, not happening.
So just to finish up, I'm directing the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who, by the way, is doing a fantastic job. In fact, he just left Panama. We're trying to take back the Panama Canal, little things like that. It'll all happen. But Marco is going to make clear to the International Olympic Committees there, and he's going to make it as clear as anybody can make it, that America categorically rejects transgender lunacy. We want them to change everything having to do with the Olympics and having to do with this absolutely ridiculous subject that we even have to talk about this subject. If you went back 10 years or 15 years and you would move forward and listen to this, you'd say, what the hell are they talking about? This is impossible. But you have people out there, Democrats, that are still totally in favor. They can't win the argument. They can't win a debate. They look like fools, and they continue to go on. And it's okay, because as long as they do this and open borders and all of the other things they talk about, transgender everything, all they want to do is transgender and men playing in women's sports and all of these crazy things. And if they continue, I think we're going to end up ultimately, it's not going to matter, because we're never going to go along with them, and we're just going to keep winning elections, right, Mike?
Yeah. Keep winning. Keep on winning. They don't have a clue. They are so far gone and so far out in left field. You had a group of transgenders the other night in New York City, and they led the protest, somebody who was formerly clearly a man, dressed as a woman, leading this protest because young children would no longer have access to surgeries. I mean, like, we don't let children smoke. We don't let children vape. We don't let children drink. But we're going to allow them to make a life-altering decision at the age of 12 or 13 or 14. Are you kidding me? That's how far gone and nutty these people have become. So no, they're not going to win an election like that. They're in the 0.01% of the population. Most normal people are like, you know what? Those are things that should be decided when you're an adult. Heck, you can't even drink a beer until you're 21, but you can decide to change your gender and get body parts chopped off, not to be too graphic. Riley Gaines said, you know who's going to have a problem with this? Attorney General Letitia James, because Letitia James, again, is standing in defiance of the President of the United States, standing in defiance of the American people. Riley, who herself got beat out by Leah Thomas, who ESPN put up on a pedestal, more on Disney coming in a moment. They're not doing so hot. Again, more on that in a moment. But here's Riley Gaines speaking about Tish James and the problem she's got coming her way, because I'm sorry, you know what? America decided.
Regardless of the availability of federal funding, we write to further remind you of your obligation to comply with New York state law. So it sounds like she's picking and choosing which federal laws to comply with here. What do you think about this, Riley?
Yeah, I think your analysis is correct. When you have an attorney general tell her entire state to not comply with federal law, she is no longer acting as an attorney general. Let's call it what it is. She is an activist at that point, which I don't think this comes as a surprise, considering how she treated President Trump and other issues, of course, over her tenure. But this just shows me that November 5th taught the Democratic Party nothing. The majority of Americans wholeheartedly do not support the gender transitioning of minors. That was made very, very clear at the ballot box. So to continue on with this messaging, to continue to quite honestly, in this case, violate federal law, I believe it shows either their ignorance, maybe their apathy, maybe fighting for a system that rewards those who move to tear it down. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's clear nonetheless that November 5th taught the Democratic Party nothing.
You got to ask yourself, really and truly, what are they thinking? Like, you can be a pretty empathetic person. You can be a pretty sensitive person. And, I don't think that leads you to, okay, let's have a 12-year-old change their gender. We had a young woman on this program who made that mistake. She changed her gender. She said to me, I'll never, ever be able to breastfeed a baby because of these decisions that were made when I was 12. And the doctors bullied her parents. She was struggling with mental health issues. And the next thing you know, she lost her breasts. And then she woke up and said, you know what, this doesn't make me feel any better. Because you see, to use the Democrats' expression, there's a root cause of the pain that's going on, and it's called mental health in her case. And maybe there's some 0.0001% of the population that really has this condition, okay? I'm not going to dispute that. Well, guess what? They can make that decision for themselves when they're 21 years old. Even give it to them at 18, but some 12-year-old, are you kidding me? And while simultaneously you're gonna leave women in the dust because you're gonna have men that think they're women beating them in athletics? I mean, what is the world coming to? I mean, I consider myself a pretty normal person, but apparently I'm some right-wing nut job according to them, because I just think that, girls' sports should be played by girls, naturally born females when I say girls. So this is just all messed up. I mean, it's really kind of unbelievable where this keeps going. I mentioned empathy, and we're going to get to that, because did you know that Captain America has a new superpower? I may have just given it away. I can't believe this. Like, of all the superpowers, nothing wrong with empathy, but for goodness sakes, okay? Come on. A quick shout out to 76 Research, the company I founded with my co-founder, Rob Horton, longtime friend, brilliant investor, managed billions of dollars for many, many years on Wall Street. And we've got him at 76 Research. He and I started this because it's really important to both of us, actually, that all of you are invested in yourselves for the future. And there's so much to come here. Go to 76research.com, use code word $, sign up for the 76 report. Take a look at those model portfolios, 10 to 15 stocks in each one of them. And this is your chance to actually really build something for the future. Because I'm telling you, the MAGA train has left the station.